So Elliot, thank you for joining us today. Given all the state roles that you have, all the various committees that you serve on, I mean, you really see a cross-section of the needs of this state. Where would you see the opportunities for the University of Hartford to even, go beyond the current impact that we have, to take it, with CCAT, with your organization, to even a higher level of contribution, to this state's economic foundation, educational foundation, and all we're both trying to do to have impact in this state?
Well, I think there's a lot of answers to the question of what Connecticut needs. Let me start first and foremost focus on the early part of the question, which was what is the university? I mean, I think that, like a lot of us, there are incredible nuggets in so many areas that this university has that, frankly, those in government don't understand and don't know. You have prominence in places that people have traditionally thought about, probably your art and music, and that's wonderful. I mean, no one wants to ever not have signature schools. But I don't think, for instance, people understand the dynamics of the integration as we've experienced it with music and engineering. I don't think people have the capacity to understand the dynamics of what you do in terms of education and engineering relative to where STEM education is going to go to complement that. I don't think people, frankly, have as much understanding of the world you're in as we know in the world of prosthetics and devices to assist those who are disabled, whether it be veterans or others. I don't think people understand that the breadth of some of the other programs and schools you have here in terms of what Barney School represents in terms of Main Street or the Entrepreneurial Center. And so when you say, what can the university do, I think part of it is you're doing so many things already internally that need to get brought out to those who need to do it. You also have, as any institution does, systemic issues that obviously take you into a place that you need assistance from government. Some of that being resources and some of that just being some relief. But I think that, the fact of the matter is, getting what you do out there to have people understand and find a place that's unique among other institutions. I use an example. I mean, you have a metrology center. It's clearly has value far beyond, I think, what people even understand it to be. It doesn't have to have the same sort of exposure that, in some cases marketing can do, but it has to be exposed to, say, to the community and to the manufacturing. We have an asset here that we could do. The second thing is, I think, what we talked about, this afternoon is the partnership. How do you use assets and put your talent on assets that you don't have to own yourself, but can have available to you? So I think it's looking at the glass, frankly, a lot filled, not just even half filled, because you have so many different varied places that you can add value. And how do you embed yourself, into that with assistance from different people in different places? Workforce is always going to be an issue across every specter and every sector, but you have also incredible talent in places that people, I don't think, even realize that you do. How you get that out, I'll leave to those who do it best, but I think as we go through, we find people who just aren't even aware that that you have these things, and frankly, these things mean those students and that faculty and those experiences. So,
given the broad mix of programs that we have across the University of Hartford, what would be your insights where we could pursue other opportunities to really impact the state's talent pipeline?
We focus on that which we have, namely aerospace and defense, because we just have to maintain them and build on them, which is a lot different than starting a new sector and competing with others around the country who want to already get into the same line. But you know that some of the processes, materials, technologies are very much able to be used in more than just aerospace. And I think as we look at those, we need to sort of broaden our perspective and say, okay, biomedical, sciences, devices. I think some of that's still trying to figure out what that means in terms of whether that's in the world of zeros and ones in genomics, or whether it's in a device that's now made in resins and plastics versus some other material as those materials change. How do you design things that you can now make differently than you ever thought you could? And so how does your engineering faculty and how does your engineering students, change in their minds? You and I have chatted about the need to understand design and manufacturing and integration. That's one of the things this school, I think, has done and does continually, is to integrate the idea of designing something means you have to figure out what you're going to make and how you can make it, and finding yourself able to incorporate both of those concepts, not just I can design it but I can't get made. So I think there certainly is this world of digital world and the Internet of Things and the idea that we're going to be connecting things in some manner, shape, or form. And I think we're successfully moving forward in that. It may be a strength that the university needs to re-explore in terms of it wasn't something X years ago. It may be where it's going collectively through the engineering school. Our workforce is changing so consistently that one year people think, oh, there's a lot of openings here, and then the next year somebody says, well, the numbers are really different. And a lot of it will be depending on, frankly, the state's attitude in figuring out what it wants to go after. We've talked about healthcare and manufacturing and IT, but where do you put your priorities, and particularly in a state that's going through some difficult times to make those choices? You want to be ahead of the curve, and believe me, I as well do. I think collectively we can make that happen.
So we've clearly done a lot together, but how do you see our partnership strengthening, going to the next level, over the next couple of months and years, given that we both want to have sort of that impact on the state of Connecticut?
Well, as I said before in one of the other questions you asked, even I and folks at CCAT are consistently trying to decide how best we can help in areas that we don't even know you're doing, and that's been enlightening. I mean, as I said earlier, getting involved in the world of the prosthetic world that you're in terms of the school there, and getting involved in some other things that you're doing in terms of the archaeological stuff with Greenberg. I'm not even sure we've explored every opportunity that we even know what's going on. I mean, which is a statement about us and frankly a statement about yourselves. I mean, that you have so much that has just been moving along and successful at whatever level. I just think we can integrate our assets in such a way, and in assets I don't mean just hard assets, I mean people and staff, to really say what else that we didn't even think about. We'll build on what we know. The real test for me is to figure out what else is over there. I mean, we've done it in terms of the communications. It wasn't something that I had thought about until we decided, okay, if we could find an intern who can help us with communications, that's an experience for them. It may not have been on their list of, geez, where are possible internships and careers. I don't think CCAT would have been on that list until we made it happen. And that's really the goal over the next period of time. Let's make sure we understand everything that we can do in our 4 areas, if you will, in energy and workforce and education and the technology, and say and the IT, how does that get incorporated into what your students and your faculty need, beyond just, as I've said, the idea of working together to go after federal or state money in terms of traditional ways of partnership. We're a unique organization in our own way, and you're a unique university in your own way in terms of the opportunities that we think we can do. And I think there's even far greater opportunities in the business school area and probably in the education area.